ballet class. Let's do some ballet. I'm gonna throw on a shrug or something. Give me a second. Here we go. Gotta see how that looks on camera. Don't want to get this flagged. Welcome to Fat Ballet. I just got an urge to do some ballet, and I used to teach ballet before I had my massive mental breakdown and my life fell apart. So let's do some ballet together. I'm more than qualified to teach, although I am very out of practice. But since I'm guessing my followers are beginners, that's no problem. Let's do a little ballet. For copyright reasons, I cannot use any music. So yeah, let's do a fat ballet. See, Michaela used to teach ballet too. I think a lot of people probably have done some ballet on some degree, but I also think there's a lot of my followers who maybe wanted to do ballet but couldn't because of societal pressures or money. And I know there's a lot of fat girls who follow me who want to do some ballet. So I'm out of practice. The reason I'm out of practice is health concerns, pandemic, all sorts of things, but mainly I'm autistic, and I didn't know that growing up. So my approach to ballet, which I was very serious about and wanted to go pro for a while, was that I would just push myself. Just push yourself harder. I've taken some time off for many reasons, but now I'm trying to ease back into it, not as a matter of I just need to push myself, but my relationship with my body is improving, where I want to learn how to communicate with my body and figure out what I need. It's not a matter of, oh, I'm going into sensory overload, I'm weak and terrible. It's, I'm going into sensory overload. How can I limit sensory input so that I can push myself harder next time? You know, it's less about, I didn't try hard enough, and it's more about, are the clothes I'm wearing okay? Did I drink enough water beforehand? What can I do to put myself in the best state of mind possible? And how can I increase my connection with my body so that I can take in all the input that I'm getting physically while at the same time being able to make my body my own and have it do what I want it to do? It's about creating a relationship with my body where I'm not trying to conquer it anymore. I'm trying to utilize it. It's less about pushing through and more about finding a way around. It's about working smarter, not harder. So I really do want to get back into ballet, and I was so bored tonight, so I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to hang out with you guys. So if you're new to ballet, feel free to follow along with me. The basics of ballet, usually in a class, you start with what's called a ballet bar, and you get something to hold on to help with your balance. You're not supposed to hold on super tight. It's more of a light thing. So I don't have anything to hold on to right now, but you are welcome to. You can just hold on to a chair in front of you or beside you if you want to. And we're just going to start with a plie. A plie is French for to bend, I believe. It's been a while since I've practiced ballet French. But it means to bend your knees and go down like this. It's a very simple move, but all of ballet is based upon it. When you plie, you're going to want to think about pulling your knees back. It's less about just going down to the ground and more about containing your energy like a spring. It's not about just falling down. It's about controlling your descent like a spring, like a jack-in-the-box. And when you have that muscle tension, what's a better way to phrase that? When you have an appropriate amount of resistance, you're not just falling in, your muscles are controlling your descent and you can start to come back up at any moment, then that makes it much easier and more powerful when you turn that into a jump. So having that spring energy in your ballet plie really will help you later on once you start doing more complicated moves. So let's do a plie exercise. We're just going to stand in first position, which means your feet are turned out, kind of pointed to the sides, and it's okay if you don't have a lot of rotation. Think about pulling your knees back. Turn your toes out as far as you can comfortably without pushing it too hard. We're just a bunch of girls goofing around on a Sunday night. This isn't a fancy class. This is barely even a class. It's only a class because I'm bored and don't have anything better to do. Don't push yourself too hard. Toes out just as far as you can push them safely without putting too much pressure on your knees or anything like that. And we're just going to do 4 plies. And then we are going to step out into second position, which is like first position, except now our legs are apart. Our legs are going to be shoulder width apart so that we are in another position. I don't know how I expected to end that sentence. And then we'll do 4 plies there, and then we'll come back to first and do 4 more plies. You ready? Let's go. First position, feet turned out as far as you can. Remember to contain that spring energy. And we're gonna go down 1, 2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4, down, 2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4. You can do whatever you want with your hands. I'm just doing some basic port de bras, but it's really up to you. Down, 2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4. All bodies belong in ballet, even if someone told you that they don't. So let's take out to second position. Are you ready? We're gonna do it again. Down, 2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4. Feel that spring energy in your body. It helps me, one of the things that I've been learning is to not focus on pain as pain so much, but to focus on it as energy. And that's something I really didn't get when I was a kid and just trying to push through things. Now we're going to take it back to first position and I'll continue my sentence. Down, 2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4. One thing that's really helping me learn to prevent sensory overload in my workouts as an autistic dancer who is way out of practice is to focus on the signals my body is sending me. Not to think to myself, oh, that's pain and I need to ignore it. I think, what is this telling me? What's the message here? And what does that mean? I think we just did 4. I don't know if that was. So when I bend down in a plie, I feel that as spring energy, like this is power building up, and that helps me recontextualize it and helps me avoid sensory overload. All right, I'm gonna look at some of the comments. The nighttime therapy you all need. I'm so glad some of you are liking this. Thank you, Soulless Goddess. Oh my goodness. Exactly what you need to be doing at 2 a.m. My goodness, it is late for you. It's only 8:30 for me. You're way better than my previous ballet teacher. Honestly, I'd love to get back in the studio. But it's complicated. I do not have the funds for class right now. We Mrs. Winter hasn't danced in ages. You know, maybe if you like it, we can start doing this regularly. I need to get back in shape and I don't want to do it alone. You know, well, I hate to say the phrase back in shape because that implies that I've been doing something wrong with my body and I haven't. I've been healing from a lot of stuff and I simply haven't had the energy to devote to regularly scheduled workouts. But I think I do have that energy now and I don't need to feel guilty for not being able to check all the boxes that I held myself to when I was in high school, because that got me hospitalized in a mental institution. So we're going to take a different path now. It's going to be so much better. Kaylee Ann says, I love you so much. Can I have a shout out? I hope this counts as a shout out because I don't know who you are off the top of my head. Do we follow each other? Maybe I do, but I am bad at remembering usernames. Mrs. Winter says, I was always the biggest girl in class, but I was decent and I liked it. See, I thought I was the biggest girl in class, but then I wasn't. And I honestly, I don't think I ever was mean to anyone for it, but in my head, I was always searching for someone else to be bigger because I felt so embarrassed of my body. And in hindsight, I feel so sad that younger me had to feel that pressure because I was an average sized child growing up. I was average sized. But in ballet, average sized is considered way too big. And I felt so ashamed. And in hindsight, looking back, I had such a normal, even maybe little skinny body. And I didn't like it because I wanted to be something I wasn't meant to be. And I think we need more ballet classes that don't focus on that. Thankfully, I did not have it as bad as so many people. I never had like a Russian teacher who was going around like pointing a stick at everyone and saying like, do it better. Like that. We've all heard horror stories, anyone in the dance world. There are better. I definitely did not have it as bad as I could have. All right, let's do another exercise. Are you ready? This is just a fun little time for fat girls to dance. Beck, your little hair says, I know what you mean, because theater was that way for me. I look back in pictures and think, I was so small. Why was I so mean to myself? Yeah, and it's hard nowadays too, because I don't know where my body is supposed to be. I had binge eating disorder because of, that was how I handled my autism. And I can't judge myself for that. I did my best to handle something that I didn't understand in a way that was accessible to me. And I'm proud of my younger self for figuring out a way to survive. But it wasn't the healthiest way to survive. I just didn't have other options. And I don't know where my body would be without it. I've lost weight now since my peak after healing from that. But it's very strange to get back into dancing ballet, because my younger self felt like her body was too big and was just a detour. And now I'm much bigger than that and realize that I don't know where this is in my path. Am I going to get smaller? Am I going to get bigger? Was my body always destined to be this size? Because bodies grow and change. And it's very strange because the ballet world very much attaches worth to your physical shape. And the dance world does that in general, but especially ballet. So it's just, it's an interesting journey to be on, because I really love ballet, and it doesn't have to be the way that it is. It's right up there with orchestra and opera as a beautiful art form that doesn't know how to let go of elitism. Some art forms are just so entrenched in this idea of supremacy of many kinds, that they're so focused on being better than those normal people that they're killing themselves. I hope that doesn't get this video flagged. I meant that metaphorically. I meant like from a business sense. From a business sense, if you think you're better than all the people who are buying tickets, that's automatically going to start to not pay off in the good way. But that doesn't mean that the art forms are wrong. I love ballet. And I think the answer isn't to kill ballet. I think the answer is for people who are in the ballet world to open up the doors to their studios and their theaters wide and say, you're welcome here. And there are a lot of grassroots ballet studios who do just that. You binge because of your autism too. Yeah. It's hard because people tell you you're not supposed to stim. Any stim you do, they always find a reason to say it's wrong. It's distracting. It shows you're not paying attention. It's childish, whatever. But when you eat, people know you have to eat. So for me, that was my only way to stim. And stimming is a basic physical need for me. It's something I have to do or I cannot think straight. Literally, like it is part of how I function as a human being. And when you can't stim, unless you're doing something that everyone considers normal, you end up talking so fast you literally don't know the words that are coming out of your mouth until you hear them in the air, and you end up binge eating. At least for me, those are the two ways I handled it. And now I'm trying to figure out who I am without those. I'm on the other end and have proportional dwarfism and I'm considered too short. I'm so sorry you went through that. You deserve to exist in the ballet world if you want to. Hey, RT Spinakas, I don't know who you are. Are we doing ballet today? Yes, but we're also discussing a lot. Bekarlu Hair says, yep, I was an opera singer, studied in college, and I definitely agree. Bound by Love says, happy ballet hour right now. Make ballet dance accessible? Yes, especially to disabled people. Okay, let's do our second exercise. I know you can't see my feet very well. You're just going to have to trust me. So, I don't know if I step all the way back there, how well you'll hear me. So, typically the second exercise you'll do in a ballet class is tendu. Tendu, I believe it means to point, and it's just what it sounds like. You're pointing your feet. We're going to stand in first position, like we said earlier. feet turned out just as much as you can comfortably. Make sure that they match each other. If one foot can go way out and the other one can't go out far, just make sure they match. You don't need to get all lopsided. Just turn out your feet as much as you can comfortably. It's okay if your heels don't touch. I was always getting in trouble in ballet class because my heels don't touch. Girls, look at these calves. That's not just fat. I am built with curves up top, on my hips, and on my legs, apparently. That's just how God made me. My feet are never going to touch like that. Never again. Unless a shark takes a bite out of them. The important thing is that your knees can straighten, all right? So put your feet together. We're going to go ahead and we're going to point our foot out to the front. Try not to lose your balance going all the way over here. You're going to go ahead and shift your balance to that one foot. So all your weight should be on the foot that you're standing on, and none of your weight should be on the one that's pointing. You might think this is kind of ridiculous, but it's practice. Because remember what we talked about earlier with plie being like a spring that can propel us up into a jump later? Tendu is the same way. Right now, pointing your foot in front of you may not seem like a big deal, and you might think that's not that hard. But later, if you've done it right, it'll be really easy to take it up into an arabesque or even a fouette turn. I couldn't even do those when I was in my peak, so God knows I can't do them now. But fouette turns are those ones you see on the internet where they can take their leg and use it as a force to spin them around. Gosh, it's like out front spin. See, I can do a little bit. So that's why it's really important to adjust your weight when you're in tendu. You get in first position and you point out to the front and all your weight shifts over that supporting leg. Because once you get that down, it makes doing all these cool tricks so much easier. All right, so we're going to point to the front and bring it back in to first, to front, to first, to front, to first. We're going to do 4 to the front, 4 to the side, 4 to the back, and then 4 more to the side. Easy peasy. All right, we're going to stay in first position the whole time. Let's do it. 5, 6, 7, 8. That's how we count in dance terms. You start on the 1. So it goes 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you hear the 1 in your head, and that's where you go. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Point to the front, bring it back. 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 One of the hardest things for me right now, as someone who has the muscle memory to know what my body is supposed to be doing, but is out of practice, is handling my hips. It's really easy when you point and your hip just kind of drops or you sit into it or it gets all twisty. But ideally, you want your hips to stay level. Let's imagine that this is my right hip and this is my left hip. When I point, I don't want one hip to jerk down or jerk up or jerk forward or jerk back. I want them to stay even and beside each other. That's difficult. It's okay if you can't do it, but that's what I'm working on right now. Now let's go to the side. We're going to point and back, point and back, point and back, point and back. Great job. Now let's go to the back. If you had trouble with your hips before, the back can be one of the hardest points because our hips aren't exactly meant to make that movement. So a little bit of adjusting sometimes is necessary. We all have different bodies, and I am not an expert on body types. So I think if it moves a little bit to the back, that's probably normal. Professional ballet dancers get really good at holding it tight as far as they can before they gotta let it slip a bit. Anyway, let's go back and in, back and in, back and in, back and in. You're doing a great job. One more time to the side. Remember to shift that weight and keep your hips together. Side and in, side and in, side and in, side and in. Great job. Let's take a quick breather. I'll read the comments and then we'll do the other leg. Let me see the comment. Let me see the comment. You have gorgeous hyperextended legs. Allowing your heels to touch in first, even with bent legs, puts less stress on your joints. I don't know if my legs are hyperextended. I just have really big calves. They will not touch. Look at my leg. I have massive calves. I just do. They, if I have them touch, I get knee pain, and I had for years when I was younger. If you don't let your knees extend all the way, it can cause problems. But of course, this is a very beginner thing, so do what feels good for your body. This is not a fancy dance class. I have books. I'll consult them if I need to, because it has been a while. United Realm says, I began dancing when I was 4 because my Achilles tendon is far too short because walking on my tiptoes all the time. Yeah. That, by the way, that debate over whether your heels should touch or not is a dance thing. There's lots of people who say, I've heard people say both ways. Off the top of my head, in my memory, I think that the rule was having your knees extend all the way is safer, but I could be wrong. We're not doing anything super complicated today, so it shouldn't be an issue, but I can look it up. You want to look like a stick man making straight lines. I tried to copy, but my hips started popping like a grandma, so I'll just watch from now on. We can do a seated ballet class sometime. That would be fun. All right, let's do the other side. Are you ready? I'll actually count you in this time. 5, 6, 7, 8. Point and in, point and in, point and in, point and in. Great job. Feel that energy. What I'm focusing on is trying to recontextualize signals from my body. So instead of just putting them in this category in my brain of, oh, that's bad feelings and I have to ignore them to push through, I'm saying, what am I feeling? What good is there in it? How can I contextualize this? So for pliés, we said I'm focusing on that springing energy, feeling power build up in my muscles, ready to be released. I'm not sure what it is for tendu, so I'm going to think about it and let you know. Let's go to the side. 5, 6, 7, 8. Out and in, out and in, out and in, out and in. Let's go to the back. 5, 6, 7, 8. Back and in, back and in, back and in, back and in. And now to the side. Did you see how I swung a little bit forward at the end? I lost my grip on my hips. 5, 6, 7, 8. Out and in, out and in, out and in, out and in. So I told you a moment ago, I would think about what I was feeling and what the main signals I was getting from my body were. And honestly, I'm having trouble putting it into words. I feel kind of like all the different parts of my body are bumping into each other inside my body. Part of that is body rolls, being a bigger girl, and you know, sometimes your body touches itself in weird places and it feels sticky, but it's also the way that my joints are moving, and I'm struggling to make sure that I'm lifted up off of them so they don't kind of feel like they're grinding against each other, and also trying to get that alignment right. Remember what we've been talking about, shifting your weight and keeping your hips even. Right now, my body feels like a whole bunch of moving parts banging off each other like bumper cars. That's the signal I'm getting from my body. I'd love to hear in the comments what signals you feel like you're getting from your body, and maybe we can talk about how we plan to use that to dance well. I don't really know what I'm going to do with my bumper car feeling, but I'm at least glad that I can read that signal and put it into words, because that's progress. All right, let's see what we've got in the comments. Not much. Lots of people joining and then leaving, which is totally fine. Yeah, okay, we don't have any comments right now. Well, this has been fun, but I think it's best to start small when it comes to doing something like this. If you liked it, you had a lot of fun, y'all, when I did that belly dancing class with Madison the other day. Some of you enjoyed this one too, so maybe we should do more dance stuff. Suzanne says, I have trouble moving my muscles without tons of concentration. That can be rough. So much of our body we move on autopilot. When we ever have to do something not on autopilot, it can be so overwhelming. My body's saying I'm definitely a dancer, but I definitely need to get more practice. Yeah, that's fair. That's what muscle memory is essentially autopilot for your body, and that's great. Friendly neighborhood Theo B. After a semester of too much pain to dance, it was so good to hear listen to your body. For what it's worth, you don't seem that big and you are very much in shape. Well, thank you. I think that's a compliment. I don't know what size I am because I used to be bigger after binge eating issues, and then I've gotten smaller, and I'm getting smaller at such a slow rate that I've actually kind of lost track of what my body looks like. Even though I look at my body every single day to edit videos, my body exists in its own realm. It's like I know what I look like, but I can't place it. I don't want to compare myself to other women, but it's beyond that. It's like I can visualize what I look like, but it's very hard to visualize what I look like in the real world. It's like if I can visualize my body, it's like in a fever dream void. It's hard for me to have any idea of what my body really looks like, especially when I get lots of people on the internet every day telling me that I'm so huge that it's clearly impossible for me to touch my feet. Nothing wrong with not being able to touch your feet. Disability is real. Health problems are real. Different bodies are real. Some people just aren't very flexible. Lots of skinny people can't touch their feet, I'm sure. But I get constant messages that my body is beyond massive to the point where it's incomprehensible. And then at the same time, my body is very slowly, bit by bit, slimming down, I think to readjust after years of an eating disorder. So I have no idea where I am. I do know that I am big boned and have some significant muscles, and there's fat on top of that. So it's really hard for me to be able to contextualize my body. I don't know why I said all that. Maybe because I want you to know that you're not alone if you're dealing with the same issues. Kaylee can't touch your feet because your spine is immobile. That sucks. Spines are pretty important. And if it doesn't move, I imagine that is a constant nuisance. Riker says, it's also saying I need to give up on caring about my body being that of a child because of my condition and enjoy what I love, even if I cast my body positivity in every direction. I'm not entirely sure what that comment means because I'm struggling to read it. That's not your fault. Maybe it's the plaid behind my thing. But I hope that you learn to love your body as it is. That My Love says, I think I feel similar with my own transition of body perception and what it looks like. Yeah. We should talk about that. Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been really fun. I enjoyed it. And if you want to do this more regularly, maybe we can. I'll talk to you later. You've been fantastic. Bye-bye.